Hey guys, welcome back. My name is Azrael, and as usual, I got my boy Anthony here with me.
What's up? What's up?
We're Accursed Brew, and today we're going to be bringing you guys our first impressions of this beautiful game, Clair Obscur Expedition 33. Subscribe if you guys want to catch more of these videos. We tend to just focus on some of the big game releases. Obviously, this wasn't necessarily one of them, although it's turning out to be one of them. But yeah, follow us if you guys want to catch more of these. Now, Clair Obscur Expedition 33, and I think for the rest of this video, I'm just going to call it Expedition 33 because it's a long name. It is a third-person turn-based RPG with reactive combat elements for both offensive attacks and then like the defensive side of things as well. And then one of the most important points too I want to hit on, and I need you guys to keep this in mind as we go through this video, is that this game was developed by Sandfall Interactive, which is comprised of just 33 people, but 34 if you count their dog, but just 33 people. It's just truly, it's an incredible feat. One last thing before we jump into the TLDR and then the rest of the video, we're not going to be spoiling anything that you haven't already seen from the trailers and things that you haven't already learned from like some of the, things that the devs have said online or whatever the case is. We want to keep this as spoiler-free as humanly possible. But with that said, we're going to start you guys off with our TLDRs on the game on whether or not you should or shouldn't get the game. And then if you need any more convincing one way or the other, stick with us for the rest of the video where we dive a little bit more in depth on all the points that we hit on here.
Very, very quick TLDR. It's my game of the year. Go play it. It's on Game Pass. It's $50 on Steam or Xbox Marketplace or wherever you buy your purchases. It's wonderful. It's one of the best RPG experiences I've had in years. It feels like Dark Souls X Final Fantasy X. This game is perfect. I love it. It's a 10 out of 10. It's got the highest user scores of all time so far on Metacritic by 0.4 points. It's sitting at 9.7 with over 2.1 thousand reviews, over Witcher 3's Blood and Wine at 9.3. Just go play it. It's the best game ever. I love it.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything he just said. This game is an absolute must-buy, must-pick-up Game Pass to check out. It is a beautiful world. It has amazing music. The voice acting is incredible. It even has incredible talent behind it as well. The combat system is really fresh. It's a really interesting and fun take on that turn-based combat that we've grown accustomed to over the years. Yeah, I mean, there's just not much more to say about it. This game is an absolute buy, an absolute try, and the price tag is low enough. And Game Pass as well being out there as well, it makes getting into it very easy and definitely worth your time. You know, something that I would be really interested to hear from you guys is the sort of your party comp that you're running right now. I mean, that'll make a little bit more sense as we get into things as we talk about the combat, but I'd be really interested to hear what you guys have to say about your current party comp. I'm gonna give it back to Anthony to check out the story and give us a once-over on it.
Yeah, so super quick. This is going to be spoiler free, so we're going to just cover, like we said earlier, the stuff that was in the trailer, the dev notes, stuff like that before the game was released. This is basically the quote-unquote synopsis of the opening cutscene. So basically, once a year, the paintress awakes and paints upon her monolith. She paints her cursed number, and everyone of that age turns to smoke and fades away. Year by year, that number goes down more and more as they are erased. So, like, the first expedition, I think, was like Expedition 100 in the story or something. Expedition 0. And then 100, and it goes down to 33 because it's counting down the number of years before, like, the people just fade away and disappear. I think it's called the Grammage, I believe.
Yeah.
With only 1 year left to live, join Gustave Mayel, who's a little bit younger, but that's explained in the story. She just wants to get out and, be with her friend Gustave, and their fellow expeditioners as they embark upon a desperate quest to break the Paintress's cycle of death. Follow the trail of previous expeditions and discover their fate. That's basically the quote-unquote, back-of-the-box synopsis, but just go check it out. It's one of the most original, unique stories that I've experienced recently, and I've connected with the characters so much. I don't want to spoil anything, but I'm just so in love with so many aspects of the actual storytelling in this game. So even if that sounds confusing to you, just go play it. Just go check it out. I'm not going to tell you too much about it. I love it. You're going to love it too. It's great.
Yeah, they do like an exceptional job at delivering what is otherwise a fairly, and kind of by the name itself, obscure sort of story There's so much like intrigue as you're going through it that you're just constantly questioning this, that, and was this person, was it that person, is it this trope that they're using, that trope, whatever the case is. Man, it just really has you thinking, and it's not often that you find games that like feel so like mentally stimulating, kind of like as a book would, where you're just constantly like second guessing this and that and trying to discover the overall plot. The game does a phenomenal job of that. It feels kind of like a book, honestly, in a lot of ways. It feels almost like they wrote a book and then they kind of translated that to a game. It's exceptional. But
it reminds me, I'm sorry, but it reminds me of like first and second season Game of Thrones dialogue and everything. Like, it's incredible. Like, the writing is so realistic and genuine, and the interactions are genuine and realistic and unique, and it's a cool take on like grimdark. I was trying to tell my friend earlier what it feels like, and I said it's like grimdark Lord of the Rings, but Twin Peaks. And that may seem batshit crazy, but it really is what I feel like the game is.
Yeah, it's crazy. I'm trying to understand. I'm too dumb, I think. Honestly, I don't even know when the last time I watched I don't even know if I watched Twin Peaks. Maybe that's why I'm having a hard time relating.
It's very artistically inspired, I guess you could say. And that's what I feel most in this game is like, I think the thing that I keep coming back to, the word, like the buzzword that I keep using for this game when I describe it to my friends and like recommend it, is inspired. If you appreciate art, if you appreciate, direction and a different take on normal universes that you're used to seeing, it's incredible.
Yeah, that I can 100% agree with. I get you there. I wouldn't say inspired is a very apt word for this. But with that said, we're going to jump now into the world of Clair Obscur, which would comprise of the art style, the sounds of the world, kind of the way it works, the way it looks, things like that. Now, the world itself is based on, I'm going to try my best to pronounce this, but it's based on Belle Époque, the Belle Époque period in French European history, which translates
that
to...
went pretty good. I think you did pretty good there, buddy.
I think it sounded pretty good.
Yeah.
It translates to the beautiful era, which sounds... I mean, dude, like, it's so appropriate for that to be sort of the reference for this, because like it definitely translates in the way the world is. The world is just gorgeous, and it's so varied too. I feel like every area that I'm walking into is very distinct from one another. It's very easy to like have a conversation with somebody who's played it as well, to be like, hey, like, oh, where have you been? And like, I don't remember the area's name, but like, this is like the landscape. This is the thing.
Yes.
This is kind of like the, the arc that it's taking, or the angle rather.
We've done that like 6 times without like spoiling anything. We've used like general area clues, and we've been able to like deduce where we've been talking about.
Yeah, it's super distinctive, and I just love that. And it's not so much too that it's like, the colors are nice, or the landscape is like innovative. It's like this
which they
nice
are. They
That's
are.
the thing, though.
Not to discredit that.
Well, no. What I'm trying to say is that it's like a really, it's like the best combination of those things together. Like, the art is truly like different, right? The landscape it's not just kind of like a hodgepodge of just random stuff, I guess. It feels very like, meaningful and like intentional with where everything is put, beyond just like, oh, we need to put like stuff in this space. It's like, okay, we can tell a little story by having like, I don't even want to say, but we can tell like a story with like these particular objects that are in this like corner or in this building or wherever.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's like a lot of that like storytelling just in like the landscape, the way everything is.
I'm not trying to spoil anything, but like, say like a ship in a certain area that had like a ocean theme, like it was very much that, and then you discover more things about that area that was, it was X number expedition that was in here that tried to access this area by ships, and this is their fate. So you go through and you like pick up former expedition journals, and you hear like a beautifully voice acted, unique final journal entry from all of these previous expeditions, and you find out certain parts of the story as you go, just as you're exploring. These are in very, optional areas. They're very off the beaten path. You will find quite a few, in the general storyline path, but I've found way more in very interesting areas that have told me much more about storyline paths. It feels like Dark Souls items. A lot of this game feels like Dark Souls to me.
Yeah, I'll totally agree with that, man. oftentimes the problem that I have with some stories is that it's a lot of like, you know, like do some show don't tell, you know what I mean? And that can be really killer. Like we played Avowed earlier this year, and you know, as much as I love that game and its story, one of the big issues I had with it is that so much of the depth that it had was just tucked away in like books you had to read, and like that's cool. And I'm, you know, I don't know, like it just can get like really tiresome very quickly having to do all that reading. So having that voice acted,
it's all optional.
yeah, and not just that, but like having it voice acted is like honestly makes like a significant difference for me. And maybe I'm a lazy gamer. I wouldn't necessarily say so. I think I tend to read a lot of like the stuff. I read a lot of the Avowed stuff anyways, despite me not necessarily being super keen on it.
I mean,
but
you're not a lazy reader. You read Sanderson books. You're fine.
Yeah, I read quite a bit. So, but yeah, it's really fun that not only is it voice acted, but it does, like you said, it really fleshes out the world, and you can see contextually exactly what they're talking about. And honestly, some of the times you can understand contextually what's going on before you read that entry, and then you read the entry and it sort of like reaffirms your idea of it. And again, that's just like super interesting, like world building where like they can tell the story with just like a couple of like set pieces. And I don't know, I love that. But as you said, the voice acting in the game, it's phenomenal, not just for those journal entries, but for the main characters as well. You know, you have Shadowheart playing Mael, you have Charlie Cox on Gustav, right? Like you have these very notable individuals playing significant roles in these games, and that's, I mean, honestly, that's like phenomenal for like a smaller studio. I'm sure they do have a lot of weight given the sort of heat that they're packing at that place in those 33 people, but even then, that's like quite a feat.
Heat.
Yeah, and if people didn't realize it beforehand, they do now.
Burn X15 if you're looking at afflictions.
Yes. But no, it's just great, man, and the music too. Man, the music is good, but I want you to talk about it. Tell me what you thought about the music.
The music in this game is 10 out of 10. I think it is beautiful. They use full orchestras for a lot of arrangements. They have a lot of very different types of music and genres. There was a track that I sent Azriel earlier today. I don't know if he's listened to it yet, but it turns from full-on classical and interesting remixes of that classical stuff into a jazz rendition of one of those remixes, and it's incredible. They do so much with this music, and they flex so hard with their skill in making the music that it made it such an important part of the game that there's a jukebox in camp when you make camp at the end of the day, and 99% of the games that I play, I never interact with like the music box and like playing like the soundtrack stuff unless it's like a really, really good soundtrack. It's my first interaction with camp before I go talk to anybody in camp and work through the extra story and get extra information, do upgrades and stuff. I'm setting my soundtrack because you go and collect these records as you go through the world and get new soundtracks and albums and stuff like that. It is magical and wonderful and mood setting in certain scenes. It is the most emotional thing you'll experience. I've been almost moved to tears. I haven't actually cried, but I've been like on the verge of being very emotional during certain scenes in this game because of how intense the music is.
Yeah, I think that's where the music stands out. Is it's not only that it's like good music just in general, right? Like you could just have generally like it sounds pleasing, but it fits. I mean, like, you know, you said they flex, and I think that's so accurate. It definitely feels like they were just like, fuck it, dude. Like, let's just make something crazy. Like, let's just really send it. And they really threw themselves into it.
We could make a dramatic like song with violins and stuff, or we could make a super banger.
Yeah, and they do, and they like absolutely nail it. It's incredible how well they go about setting the mood, and like you said, with being up with the jukebox in the camp, you allow yourself to set that mood as well, right? So like if you just had like a very somber moment in the story, maybe you want to walk there and listen to something that like mimics that, or you're about to go fight like some mini boss and you want to prep for that right now, so you go put on, you know, one of the more upbeat tracks. Like you have that opportunity. And like you want to do that because it's fun and it just sounds good. Like, I don't know, like it really puts you in the mood. So I don't. It's just like there's too much to say. Like when it comes to the music, the voice acting, just the sound in general. The enemies sound really cool. The landscape, the world itself, like it all is beautiful. It sounds good.
The sound design and combat. We're gonna get into combat in a second, but I just have to say, because we're still on sound design at the moment, the sound design in combat for sound cues when you have to parry or dodge is incredible. I don't know if you're playing this game on headphones. Are you?
Yeah, I am.
Like the bassy reverberation that you get right before you're supposed to parry, it sounds so good, dude.
Yeah, no, they nail it, dude. Like it doesn't feel like at any point am I lacking in the way things sound. Oh, one other thing we forgot to mention too. You know what? Actually, I'm not going to mention it because I think it's fun to just experience it. So I take that back. Never mind.
Fuck you guys. Find it for yourself. Buy the game.
Yeah, figure it out. But it has to do with voice actors and a particular set of voice actors that speak a particular way. I was going to talk about that, but I'm going to let you do it. I'm going to let you experience it yourself because it's really fun and it's engaging. The next thing we're going to jump into is the gameplay, as this is truly a phenomenal part of the game, as if the rest of it isn't, but this as well. But yeah, take it away, man.
I mean, as much as I love everything else and I've gushed about everything else in the game, which I do love. Like I said, it's my game of the year so far, 10 out of 10, everything. The gameplay is the strongest part of it, and it's not even close. Like as 10 out of 10 everything else is in the game, the music, the art design, the world, the voice acting, the gameplay is exactly everything I've ever wanted in an RPG. I don't know if you guys have watched our Final Fantasy video or anything that we've done before. If this is your first video to us, welcome. Like and subscribe. I love you. But I feel like you've noticed a pattern in my gameplay style where I'm more into the tactical vibe of things, but I also love a good challenge. And I think this mixes turn-based and real-time so well with the dodge and parrying mechanics. I think the way I've described it to other people when I'm describing the game is it's like Paper Mario, where you have QTEs during your attacks where you have to like hit A in the golden zone and hit A again in the golden zone. It's different timing. You have to dodge or parry certain attacks or jump over and counter attack. There's so many varied aspects to the combat in this game that it gives it so many layers and feels so fresh in every single fight, similar to fighting enemies in Elden Ring. You have to learn their attack patterns, their timing, their tells as they're swinging at you. If they do a little like delay on their swing, like you're fighting Margit, it's very, I'm not going to say unique because it is basically Dark Souls, but in the best way possible in a turn-based tactical game. I couldn't rave about it more. It's everything I've ever wanted in a game. I don't know how Azrael feels about it, but it's perfect for me as a gamer.
Yeah, I one thing that I often feel when I play turn-based games, and this is what kind of turns me off. I gotta be honest, like I play a lot of turn-based games as it is, but I'm not like if I have my preference between more of like an active turn-based, which is what you would see in something like a Pillars of Eternity or Dragon Age Origins, where it's like a more of a it's like that hybrid approach, but more so leaning towards the active aspect of it. That is typically my preference. Because oftentimes in turn-based games, I find myself just kind of like hitting A through everything. But this game really gives you a challenge in each fight that you want to engage with, because of how rewarding it is. Like, it does feel really good when you go to parry something, not just because of the fact that you dodge the damage, but because you're doing damage back. And then on top of that too, when you go to act in battle itself, you have like a gauge that you have to sort of manage that allows you to use certain moves or, not other moves, and that you could use in a variety of ways. But I'll get into that more in a moment. But it adds to that gauge when you go to parry, or when I think you do a perfect dodge as well. There's like a dodge, perfect dodge. And because of that, how engaging it is, it's giving me a challenge that I otherwise don't get in these games, that it just makes it really enticing. Like it's like a take on it that I didn't necessarily realize I liked as much as I do. And I don't think it's just because like, oh, you can parry in combat. Like you can do that in some other games, sure. But I think it's because of how rewarding it is and the way it sounds and looks and that feedback that you get from it that makes it so nice.
The feedback is so good. I'm sorry, but the feedback's so good. If you're playing on a controller and have like the vibration on like the parries, it feels like you're playing like Sekiro.
And I think that's what makes it so impactful is that feedback. They really delivered on that. And oftentimes in a lot of games, feedback is really important. I mean, when you're playing Monster Hunter and you do like a level 3 charge with a greatsword on something, when you go to hit that and it takes a second to cut through it and then it smacks into the ground and you hear that like rip through flesh and that like impact on the ground, like that feels really good. Like you could do it quicker, sure, you know, if the devs, I guess, designed it differently, but it doesn't feel as nice. And that's important. Now, what I was talking about when it comes to the combat, just to get a little bit more in depth on it, when you get into combat, you kind of have a variety of ways that you can sort of approach a fight depending on the enemy that you're fighting, depending on their weaknesses, things like that. So you get right off the bat the ability to flee, to pass your turn. You can also use an item. You can attack.
You can flee?
Yeah, you can flee in the game. I haven't done it, but
I didn't know that. That would have saved me so much time. I've been in fights where I've just like been like, all right, well, they killed 2 people. I just got to wait until they kill this last one.
Yeah, it's like your left thumbstick or something like that. I think one of the thumbsticks. But you have your abilities, which again consume that gauge that I was talking about that you can add to when you parry, or you can just do a normal attack. Lastly, you also get to do, and this is again leading into the more active aspect of the turn-based gameplay. You can aim with like a gun in it with like, I think it's like a pistol for most people, but you can aim with the
like
pistol.
The free aim or whatever.
Yeah, it's the free aim, and you can hit weak points on enemies, and some enemies make it obvious, some other enemies it's not so much. But it's like a really fun like added layer of engagement to the game where it can, you know, there's certain enemies that you'll fight that'll do like an AoE when you hit it, or will like.
Act one enemies are all like Legend of Zelda bosses where they have like a giant shiny part that's a weak point. Act 2, it gets a little more difficult.
But it's just so much fun that they have that level of depth to it. Each character too also has like certain mechanics that you can build up and charge and then do like a big attack, or you can do like damage over time. You can switch stances in some cases to where like depending on whether or not you know you're going to get hit, you can maybe be a little bit more defensive, or if you want to go offensive the next round, you kind of you make your way towards that stance. And this is where it gets really fun, is this sort of cross character like attacks that you can do. So for example, one character you can inflict a particular status effect, another character can benefit from that status effect by healing or adding on more I think they call them like AP, like action points. And it's just like fun, like having, like when you go to level up, you want to reinforce that. When you go to set up your Pictos, which we'll get into here in a moment, and utilize your Lumina, which again we'll get into in a moment, it creates like this really fun dynamic where you get to just, I don't know how else to put it other than it's just like a really fun dynamic of being able to combo on enemies and really take advantage of the overall build that you're putting into play. It just adds so much depth to it. And I don't know, like, again, like I said, I'm not a big turn-based guy, but it's where that depth and that challenge comes in that really makes it like stand out for me and keeps me like really, really engaged.
Yeah, before we move into Pictos, I just want to say, like, as somebody who is a turn-based guy, like, I love turn-based and tactical games. Like, that's my bread and butter. It's basic enough for everyone to understand how it works, but it is in-depth enough to have a skill level and a skill difference that you can grow as a player as you're playing that game. Similar to Dark Souls. I know I keep referencing this, but there are fights that you'll have, just like in Elden Ring or Dark Souls or Bloodborne, whatever, any Souls-like FromSoft game, where you fight them at the beginning and they destroy you. Like, you can't even get in, 3 hits into them before they one-shot you. In this game, there's a lot of things like that where okay, there's this super boss that's very hard. I have no idea what their attack patterns are, and they keep one-shotting all of my characters. Then you go to a different area and you fight some like basic version enemies of that to learn those attack patterns and the timing on parries and dodges and what their weaknesses are and all of that stuff. You learn more about that class of creature, and then you can go back with that knowledge, and even though it still one shots you, because you're a better gamer and you know more about that and you have more of the knowledge, you know the timing on all the dodges. So guess what, you know, hit it and you kill it in 6 turns without getting hit, even though it attacked you 6 times a turn. Like, there are so many moments in this game with the combat that give you the ability to, if you don't want to interact with the hard stuff, you don't have to, and you can get through the game if you just like mainline the game. At least so far, I'm like about halfway through Act 2, I think. If you just mainline the game, you can get there. But if you go and explore, you can challenge yourself and grow and get better and get good. And that is really like the difference in this game between like a normal JRPG where it's just like, oh, go grind. It's no, the leveling doesn't matter. Like the progression, which we'll get into later, is pretty minimal for the most part. It's more about your actual skill level, and that feels good as a gamer.
Yeah, I think that's what makes this so impactful, is that it does feel good, right? Like the feedback is there in more ways than in just like the sound and in the visual. Just like in general, like you're just feeling engaged. You feel fun about what you're doing, and it doesn't ever feel like you're losing that enjoyment. At least I haven't come across any fights where I'm like, oh, like I got to do this. Like it's like, no, like, you know, cool. Now that I fought this guy when I was 5 levels ago, I can fight him again. And now I'm like just souped up. Let me just one shot him real quick. Or like, let me try this like fun combo I wanted to try, but the enemies I'm fighting are kind of tough. Like I can demo it here. I don't know. It's just like, there's so much fun there. There's like just so much depth. Like you can, I don't know. I would find it hard to believe people are coming up short with like different ways to tackle different things and like that enjoyment sort of petering out quick. But the next thing we're going to jump into is the, I guess kind of like the equipment aspect of it, the Pictos, the Lumina, the weapons that you get to use. This will touch on it
kind of blends into the progression system that we're about to get into, but it's still part of the combat.
Yeah. And you know, we're not going to get super in depth with this because this is kind of a lot, to be quite honest. And I don't think us talking about it is going to make it any less a lot. I think it's something that the game does a good job of slowly kind of like leaning you into as you unlock things and pick things up and so on. But essentially the way that the Pictos and Luminas work is that these are, I guess they're kind of like buffs in combat that you get to use, whether it'll help you lean into like doing a certain status effect, whether it's going to allow you to, you know what, actually one thing you were telling me about earlier, maybe we keep it vague, but it can create like a very unique sort of play style as well, where when you enter in combat, you're doing it in a very specific way with a specific, you know, reason. I don't know. It's really engaging. There's a lot of depth here. And again, like I said, I think it's best to just sort of experience it. But I mean, is there anything else that you wanted to touch on with it? I know it's kind of vague, but it's hard to like say a lot.
It just like it allows you to customize your play style more and have a more personalized experience. It was kind of what I was going into you could understand the combat, you could block, dodge, attack, use weaknesses and stuff and get through combat like you're playing turn-based Pokemon. But there is another level of it where you could really have in-depth, super intense builds that are there for a purpose. And really combine some of these Pictos that you get, along with once you learn and get enough battles with these Pictos, you can put the Luminous, which are like the main effect of those Pictos. So say it's like plus 25% increase on counterattack damage, or you do 10% more damage if every member in your party is alive. You could put those on your characters after you have learned those Pictos. So again, we're getting into the nitty gritty. It's pretty technical, but it allows so much depth in your build that you could have multiple things that stack with each other or work together and have good synergy. across different characters. You could have one character specialize in applying burn, and then one character specialize in taking advantage of that burn that gives them extra action points or damage, or puts them into a specific set that they can use that does more damage or heals. Like, there's so much that you could do with this, and it gives you so much freedom to really customize your playstyle.
Yeah, I love that for it, man. It makes it really fun, and it makes all those like fights that you do to kind of like learn, those Pictos. You get the Pictos and you learn them and you can use them as Luminas. It makes all those like fights that you fight, like just random little people, like really meaningful, because there's a lot of longevity that comes as a consequence of that, and a lot of ability to take advantage of different builds and so on. I don't know, it's just really great. It's really great. Again, in depth. Or there's a lot of depth, and you'd probably be best suited to just kind of like play that and experience it yourself. But the next thing that we're going to jump into, and again, we'll probably touch on this somewhat lightly because we've kind of already hinted on this for the most part already. There's just kind of one aspect of this that we really haven't touched on too much, but it's going to be the progression system. And in that, you do have the Pictos and Lumina. That is a form of progression for sure, but just talking about your character's levels, you do get two separate leveling aspects to your characters. You either have your attributes you can upgrade, or you can learn new skills. Your attributes are going to be sort of like your it's going to be like your might, your agility, your defense, luck, and vitality.
It's literally from soft leveling.
Yeah,
it's literally from
it's
soft
the exact
leveling.
same thing. And again, this is something that you can do. I would think engaging with this is better than, this is more of like a engage with, don't tell, if that makes sense. Instead of a show, don't tell, it's engage with, don't tell. But oftentimes what you want to do is you just want to level things up that like fit with the sort of playstyle you want to approach this character with, as well as maybe the weapon that you're using, because certain weapons are, again, like from soft-esque, certain weapons are better for this stat or better for that stat, maybe these two stats. But again, like, there's not too much here, but it is fun nonetheless, and there is still like a decent bit of depth behind this as well.
Also, something we didn't touch on is the Pictos have giant effects on your actual stats. Like you get 3 Pictos slots per character, and you can have their like main effect if you use the Luminas, those points we were talking about. However, with the Pictos, like, as you can see on screen right now, you get like plus 15 speed, plus 2% crit. Like, you get stat bonuses with those that go along with your combat stats. So like, I've had ones where like, even though I'm not using the main effect of the like the actual Lumina on there, I'll have 3 that have plus 10 crit rate, and now my character has 50% crit rate. Like, you could have specialized builds and so much depth and customization. Like, for you people who are like nerdy about like min-maxing and stuff, you're gonna have so much fun.
Yeah, you people.
You people, I'm people.
But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the progression system in of itself. There's again, this is something where we've said it like 50 times, but you got to experience it yourself to really get like a good grasp on it. But yeah, I mean, with that said, man, I think that's for the most part the gist of what we wanted to cover. I think at this point we'll just give our final thoughts and then we'll close it out.
Yeah, final thoughts, 10 out of 10. I'm a super fan of Loon's Feet. I think this game is probably one of my favorite RPGs I've played in the past 4 or 5 years. Metaphor ReFantazio is my game of the year last year. So far, and again, I'm only 22 hours into the game so far. This game is blowing Metaphor out of the water for me, and it's not close, which is so surprising because Metaphor was my favorite game of like the last 3 years. Like, it's that good. It is that good. Go play it. It's beautiful. It is so grim, artistically inspired, yet inviting. It is so deep, yet understandable and beginner friendly. It has so much to offer, and I couldn't be more proud of this super, super small AA team that made a game that's $50 fucking dollars when Mario Kart's gonna be 90. Like, what are we even doing? This game is one of the best experiences I've ever had. It's magical. It's wonderful. Go fucking play it. I love this game.
Yeah, I definitely think that this is one of those things that kind of comes. I don't want to say necessarily came out of nowhere because there was some marketing for it for sure from because this is on Game Pass. But this is one of those games that takes the landscape by storm. When Witcher 3 came out, they set the sort of tone for the way open world RPGs were going to be going forward, and something that you can see in pretty much any RPG after the fact is, and I think it was 12 seconds or something like that. They had like this rule where as you're walking through the world, you will experience an event. I believe it was like maybe 8 to 12 seconds or something like that. You will experience an event within that time frame everywhere that you go, and that was like sort of the landmark, the cornerstone of that world that they made. And I think that this game is going to do something similar in that this will probably set the stage for what you're going to see in a lot of turn-based games kind of moving forward, or at the very least an evolution of what we're seeing here. This is truly a special experience that I think, even if you're not super into this kind of game, I would still give it a shot, and I would do so via Game Pass. Again, we're not paid by them. We're giant shills of them nonetheless, because it is an amazing bit of value.
By the way,
for
Microsoft, I would love to be paid by you, and by paid, just give me free Game Pass for a year. I'll talk about you every fucking video.
Yes. But regardless, it's an easy buy-in for you, and there's very little strings attached. If you end up not liking this, you have a plethora of other games on there to check out. But I would find I would be very impressed if people didn't enjoy this, if most people didn't enjoy this, rather. But with that said, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Again, hit the subscribe if you guys want to catch more of this. If you guys enjoyed the video, please give it a like. It means a lot to us. But we love you guys, and we will catch you guys next time.